All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's react to an embarrassing moment. CNN gets word that Iran has accepted a ceasefire just seconds after Kaitlan Collins set up a narrative casting doubt on Trump, and they keep doubting Trump and the mission that those brave pilots did from Missouri, my home state. And so we're going to talk about that, and let's react right to it. Let's not waste any time. And of course, here her colleague made her look silly. Let's react.
Now, we're hearing incredibly optimistic views coming out of the White House as far as how long this can hold and what this is going to look like. That obviously still remains to be seen on the implementation side of this, and waiting to see if the firing does stop and if Iran and Israel do both agree to this. Because, you know, speaking of the fluidity of the situation, it was just 24 hours ago that President Trump himself was suggesting a regime change in Iran was a possibility. And obviously right before that, having the United States strike Iran. And so, yes, there have been a lot of phone calls going back and forth. In part, this has to do with Iran's limited response earlier, where they fired on a U.S. base in Qatar, but there were no casualties. We know that they did give a heads up that they were going to be firing on U.S. bases without exactly specifying which ones. But that is the question here: is if the United States
look at Cooper Anderson as he wants to pass out.
It did not need to respond to the Iranian retaliation. Did that create the space for this? That is what we've been hearing from administration officials. And so the question is whether or not this still holds for the next few hours.
Kaitlan, I just been given word that Iran, according to a diplomat who briefed CNN, Iran has agreed to the ceasefire. So this is significant. I just want to try to learn some more information as soon as we get it about that. But if that is the case, that's incredibly significant, because that is, we were waiting. We had not heard from Iran. We had not heard from Israel. All we were going on so far has been the president's social media post, which was some 2 hours ago. So again, that is the first indication we have that Iran has agreed to this.
So she made herself look silly there in that particular instance. She was casting doubts on the ceasefire deal, which, and again, Iran did send a floating missile there, and then, of course, Israel retaliated 20 times as much as, really strong in their response. And, of course, the famous Trump, they don't know what the F they're doing. But then we go back, because Kaitlan doesn't give up. You know, she's very consistent at this type of situation. So she comes at Senator Mullin, Markwayne Mullin, and they get into a little bit of a debate there. She is obviously over there in the Netherlands on this NATO meeting, and Mr. Mullin tells her, "Listen, don't put words in my mouth. I say what I said." So let's take a look.
And Senator, thanks for being here tonight. You heard the majority leader there saying he has not seen intelligence to confirm that Iran's nuclear program was obliterated. Have you seen any of that?
Well, actually, that isn't exactly what he said. He said you need to ask the question to Tom Cotton, who sits on Intel. I'll tell you, the reports that we've received is that this was a complete success. I mean, you think about this, Kaitlan, and I don't understand why this is such a hard thing for CNN or other people to celebrate the victory that the United States just achieved. We had 30 Tomahawk missiles. We had 14 30,000-pound bombs delivered on target and on time. We had no detection, no boots on the ground, complete mission success with Midnight Hammer. And this is a victory that we should celebrate for the simple fact, Kaitlan, that the world is safer because Iran cannot develop their nuclear weapon. And keep in mind, this is a country that is the #1 sponsor of terror around the world. So this should be something that we're celebrating, not something we're trying to bring some division between us on.
Exactly. 100%.
And no one is trying to bring any division, and it has nothing to do with celebrating it or not celebrating it, sir. It's a question of what the intelligence shows. So my question is, have you seen intelligence that shows that the nuclear program has been obliterated?
Well, we haven't had the report on this, but President Trump and those that are in that world have said, quite frankly, that this is a complete mission success. I know the initial reports that we have been told, but not in a complete briefing, that has been that it has obliterated their nuclear program. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't start their program again, because you can't eliminate knowledge. They have knowledge, but we know they won't be using these facilities anymore. We know that for a fact. Now, as far as the in-depth report, we expect to have that in-depth report come Thursday. The reason why they had to postpone it is, like you said, a lot of those that will be briefing us are with you in Netherlands today.
But in the terms of this report that we are getting from the DIA itself, what it has put together, it says the core components of the nuclear program were not destroyed, and that neither was the enriched uranium.
Well, Caitlin,
that's more than just the knowledge.
Yeah, but Caitlin, this is a report from DIA. Now, for your listeners, let's break down what DIA is and what DNI is, which is what Tulsi Gabbard, because I think that's important. Tulsi Gabbard is the Director of National Intelligence. DIA is the Director, or is the Defense Intelligence Agency. They don't have eyes in the ground, they have eyes in the sky. This is a report that was incomplete, that wasn't supposed to be released, and we don't even know where they were finding their findings, because the ICs, the intelligence community that actually have eyes on the ground, eyes on the target, which is where we're getting our initial reports from, those were the people that were in country. DIA does not have people in country that was providing this assessment. We know that this was a complete success. Now, that success means that our delivery system and what our target was on time, and was effectively did exactly what we wanted it to do.
Well, first off, let me say, no one is doubting that the B-2 bombers carried out their mission and struck exactly the targets that they were told to hit. No one is doubting that. The question is the claim being made by the president that it obliterated this. You just said the DIA does not do this, but the DIA is part of the Pentagon. The Pentagon is what carried out these strikes, sir. And the director of the DIA is a 3-star military officer who is the principal advisor to the Secretary of Defense, is he not?
That doesn't mean that they have eyes on it. Our eyes on it did not come from DIA. I was in the intel.
You just don't trust their report at all?
Absolutely, 100% do not trust this, because the report wasn't a collective of the ICs, which the ICs, by the way, would go through, which is why I wanted to say this, DNI, which is, it would go through the Director of National Intelligence. For the DIA to put out a report without the collective bargaining of all our ICs, as you said, there's 18 of them, and I can assure you, Caitlin, we don't have 18 agencies, intelligence agencies working on Iran. That would be disastrous. We have a few, actually we have less than a few. We have really only one, plus our allies that are working in there, and that did not include any of their assessment. So how could you have a complete report given it from their assessment only, and their assessments are only coming from eyes in the sky, not eyes on the ground?
Well, and we have made clear it's a preliminary report, but this is the only intelligence report that so far has.
Well, then why would you run with it? Because you're assuming. But you're assuming this report is the report, and it is absolutely not even close report. Do you know how many intelligence agencies briefings I have sat in?
Senator, and you said on armed services, and you just said you do not trust the Defense Intelligence Agency's report.
No, that's not what he said.
You're going to bring up with the Pentagon?
No, what I said is I don't trust this report, because I have said in briefings now for 12 years. I was on the Intel Committee in the House. Not one time did we have DIA ever come in and brief us. That was not where our briefings are coming from. In fact, go back and see all the intelligence briefings we've had that's been public and been in private, that's been released. Have you ever seen DIA one time ever brief Congress? Ever. One time ever brief Congress? No, they have not.
Have you seen intelligence, though, that contradicts what the DIA is saying so far?
Well, I've seen reporting, not reporting from you, but I've seen reports come out. As far as a full briefing, we haven't, as you know, we've already said this. The briefing has been pushed to Thursday, but the initial reports we have 100% contradicts what DIA was saying here. And I'm not saying DIA isn't capable. DIA is capable. I'm saying this report is not an accurate report. I don't even know where this report came from. I don't know who authorized this report or where they gathered their intelligence, but there's no way. There's multiple people inside DIA, Caitlin. But how did this person that brought this report together, how did they get their information? Where did their information come from? Because it wasn't collective around the ICs, as I've said before, not to repeat myself, of gathering the information with individuals that was actually on ground, not the assumption. So I don't know where this report was generated from. I know it was reported out of as a DIA, but why?
Interesting. Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know why I see something wrong when automatically, yeah, we want to come out with a report to try to bring down what was a successful mission. Um, it just, other than being biased and wanting to put something negative on everything that President Trump does, I don't understand why do we always have to be looking for that negative on everything, right? It just makes absolutely no sense. And if it's a preliminary report, that means it's not the full report. That means they still need to work on it. They still got to gather the facts. There is a lot of investigating to do. This just happened over the weekend. You know, why are we not waiting? Why is CNN so adamant to bring down any mission that Trump does? Why? Why can't they just let it wait and see what happens? And then once they gather all the facts, then you can determine who was right or who was wrong. It makes no sense to me.